We need to clear some things up about what it really means to persist in the wish fulfilled, in the desired end. Because if you're stuck right now getting no results, it's likely because you're persisting in the wrong thing. And so we need to fix that rather urgently so you don't waste any more time doing the wrong thing. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Frances and I live and teach the biblical approach to conscious manifestation. It's also known as the path to Christ consciousness, which definitely takes a deeper dive behind the works of Neville Goddard, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bashar, Abraham Hicks, because it teaches you how to live as a conscious manifester in a natural, healthy and empowering way from the teachings of Jesus. So let's get straight into it. I got a call from a client recently, and this will answer a lot of the comments mentioning the subject, asking how to persist in the wish fulfilled. She said, I've been ignoring the 3D, I've been denying it. She could do that for weeks at a time, but nothing is changing. And she said, I'm sick of waiting for him to arrive. I want so badly for my SP to return, but it's been months. What am I doing wrong? But that's not persisting in the wish fulfilled. That is not living in the desired end. Those thoughts like, I can't wait for this to show up, or I wonder when my SP will choose me, or leave that third party situation, or when will the manifestation arrive so I can have the money or have that job, or I hope this will work if I keep doing this. They will tell you that. You're not persisting in being, you're persisting in the lack of it. And you'll have the evidence to prove it. You can see that this state of consciousness of who you don't want to be is reflected perfectly in the 3D. Your persistence in waiting has manifested more waiting. Your persistence in being single and alone has manifested more of you being single and alone. The focus on having to remove the third party has manifested more issues dealing with the third party. The lack of money has manifested more reasons to prove you've got no money. You've persisted in a state of being that isn't what you want. That's why nothing has changed. And this is a common problem because you're treating the use of manifestation techniques as if you're using it to submit an order that you've then got to wait for, when you're not persisting in trying to get out there to change, to bring someone else in. Remember, no matter what technique you use, you are using it to manifest a change in you. No one else, to change yourself from being rejected to chosen, from poor to wealthy, from lonely to connected, to living the life you don't want, to living your dream life, because you manifest who you are conscious of being. As I always say, if you have not manifested what you want, it's because you are still conscious of being the version of yourself who doesn't have it, who isn't it, who isn't being that version of yourself right now. Neville Goddard said to persist in the assumption that your wish is already fulfilled. It means to persist in being the version of you who already is chosen, already is wealthy, healthy, is treated fairly, is living the life of their dreams, whatever it is that you want to be. But he also said something that is always overlooked. I don't know why, because it's causing a lot of people to panic over how they feel. Though false, it will harden into fact. This means regardless of the fact that you hold a belief right now that says this assumption is false, that it's not true for you, that it's not who you are, it doesn't matter. That's what makes this so powerful. You're being asked to assume anyway that this is who you are, despite what your human brain believes or feels, and regardless of all 3D circumstances. Why is this important? Because if you believed that you were chosen or wealthy now, you wouldn't be changing it in the first place. So accept that the human brain here is not going to be on board. It's not going to believe that this is who you are yet. So of course there will be resistance. You'll feel resistance to anything you don't already believe to be true. So the assumption isn't going to feel true for you because that hasn't been your experience yet. It hasn't hardened into fact neurologically yet. And that's okay. Don't confuse embodiment to embody the state of consciousness with feeling something to be true, because they are not the same thing. To embody this assumption means to be in that state of consciousness. When I say, I am chosen, that is who I am conscious of being. I am now conscious of being chosen. Whereas if I were to say, I am not chosen, I am rejected, that is who I am now conscious of being. My emotional state hasn't changed. My beliefs about who I am have not changed. What has changed is that I have stated, I have declared that this is who I am, and it has manifested instantly in my reality. In that moment, I am being that state of consciousness. And yes, by persisting, being that version of myself, my brain will eventually harden that into fact by forming the belief to support it, but I don't have to wait to believe it, to declare that this is who I am for it to manifest. I am being it now. I have it, I am it, because within is reality. And why is reality within? Because it's the birthplace of creation, of everything you have ever manifested, of everything you have ever created. Beliefs that make up who you are conscious of being started within. It is responsible for how you have always manifested. Think about it. Look at your life. The good, the bad, the ugly. And proof of that is that it's all reflected out there, which is why out there can only tell the story of who you are conscious of being. That's why you're changing it. And Jesus awakened us all to that fact, that we first allowed other people's opinions, what they said about us, how they treated us, life out there, to be God over our minds by forming beliefs that set our state of consciousness. And then we allowed our beliefs to be God over our reality within us by accepting that they dictate who we are conscious of being. We behave as if we do not have a choice. You are in the habit, as is the majority of people, as I was in the start, of making everyone else, everything else but ourselves God. And He came to free us from doing that by teaching us how to overcome the world, by choosing I am. So out there can't tell you who you are now conscious of being. Out there is only the materialization of your previous state of consciousness, when you weren't chosen, when you didn't have the money, when you were in debt, when your SP was with a third party. Whatever is being reflected, it can only ever contain the evidence of who you used to be. And that's why Jesus told us, 2 Corinthians, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. Since what is seen out there is temporary, it's a reflection, but what is unseen is eternal. You're declaring who you say you are now to God, because the kingdom of God is within. God's Spirit dwells in your midst. Christ, your highest human potential, is within you. None of it's out there. The 3D can only tell you who you don't want to be, so leave it alone, because it's irrelevant, because it doesn't matter. It's all those things, because no one and nothing can stop you from choosing who you say you are within you now. So please, let's stop all this effort and pressure by accepting who you are and what beliefs you're currently working with, because making them the enemy makes this a fight, and it's not. This is not a battle of wills. This is about choice. First rule of persisting in your chosen state of consciousness is not to expect your brain to agree and be on board with your new assumption about who you are. The second rule is, don't make that a problem. Remember, beliefs are just folders of the past anyway, filled with the good, the bad, and the ugly of what other people have said or done. Most of them are not even your own, so your brain cannot predict a future outcome that is opposite to what you have already experienced. Let's lower the expectations here. It can't determine what is possible for you in a positive way. For example, if you've never experienced being chosen, never been the one, never been wealthy. That's why you are providing it with all of that information. That's your responsibility, your role in creation. And it's why you're using manifestation techniques in the first place, to experience being it now. Because in that moment, you are providing your brain with the evidence that you have changed. that you are now who you wish to be, that this is how you are treated and thought of, because this is who you are now being. That is what you're persisting in, exposing your brain to you being it by declaring it, because that is who you're conscious of being right now. That is the movement you want to create, but are currently looking out there for, when all of it is happening within you, when you are being it now. I had a client that came to me from a position of believing nothing had ever worked out for her. Like nothing. Nothing had gone right ever. And amidst the stress, the anxiousness, the worry, and a few panic attacks, she declared she was living her dream life. And she got an $800 free treatment. She didn't get a parking fine, whereas before she did every single time. Which I know to you and me might sound like nothing, but if your world has been constant injustice and never been given a break, that was a big deal for her. By being self-compassionate, because that changes who you're conscious of being. It stops you from being the bully. She got contact and acknowledgement from her SP and a family member who had previously shut her out. The list goes on, all the whilst believing the opposite. She then chose a state of consciousness of having more time, because I asked her, what do you really want from this situation? And her lawyer wrote to her or called her, I forget, I'm going to have to check the email, saying, all I can do is give you more time. She didn't have the funds to move and went from an eviction notice to having more time, from a landlord just trying to get her out to making her a financial offer to help her move, from having no place she could afford to options. Even though she was stressed and anxious and exhausted and overwhelmed and all those things, because this was her first time consciously manifesting, she still made a choice. Another who posted in the private Facebook groups, they are part of our community. This member had waited for over a year to join this investment group, and they didn't always have the money. They had previously asked the founder quite a few times if they could make an exception and allow them to borrow the buy-in funds they needed, and was repeatedly told no. So they went within. They declared who they were conscious of being by living it, being it within. Even when they weren't feeling great, they still chose that state of consciousness. They kept choosing that state of consciousness, declaring that this is who I am. I am in this group. Soon, and very unexpectedly, their words, because this person hadn't manifested someone specifically giving them the money, the founder reached out to them offering the buy-in and said, no need to pay me back either. Just have it. When they got into the investment group, what happened? An unexpected dividend check arrived. All that from being that state of consciousness. I am in this group within. They were already being in that group. They were already in it. And everything worked itself out, because in their reality, that is who they were conscious of being. Hear this. Too many people out here are playing God, but to their detriment, whilst denying their own power. Placing unnecessary rules that is making this process miserable for you, and a game of waiting and trying and resisting the 3D. Oh, I feel negative, that means I'm not going to get what I want. Oh, until I form this belief, I can't manifest, I'll have to wait. Oh, if I can't stop feeling upset, worried and stressed, I can't have what I want, I can't manifest. Why? Who told you that? Feelings and beliefs only matter when you're changing a belief in your human brain. Repetition only means something to your human self, because you need repetition to convince yourself that this is who you are. But you're not just a human being. You even acknowledge it yourself. You are constantly told you are an extension of divine source energy. The Bible tells us Christ is in you, that God is with you wherever you go. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. You do not have to rely on your human neurology to have the supporting belief in place in order to declare your state of consciousness, because the power is within you always. It's everywhere you go. That is what you're now awakening to. Think about it. Did God tell you that you can only state who you're conscious of being when you feel and believe it to be true? No. He states, let the weak say, I am strong for a reason. Not sit there, form the belief first, and then say it when there's no resistance and it feels right. Is it easier when the brain is on board? Yes, of course, I think we can all agree with that. But does it have to be for you to choose your state of consciousness and not be dictated by who your beliefs say you are? No. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it metaphorically represents our limiting beliefs and mental states that hold us in fear and doubt and negativity. Fear, upset, worry only creates the illusion of separation. The same way your human limiting beliefs create illusions about who you say you are, which half of the time are a load of rubbish, because they aren't in alignment with the divine truth of who God says you are. But you are never separated from Him, from your divinity, which means you can still choose who you say you are. That's why it continues on. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. It is comforting to know that no matter what state you're in, at any moment and in any circumstances, you can choose who you say you are, because I am is within you. Before Abraham was born, I am. He created your human self. He loves you unconditionally, but you're treating him with all your rules as a conditional father that only loves you, that only provides for you when you're positive, when you're good, when you're high vibe. You have decided as God over your reality within that you can only choose him, go to him, that I am state to declare who you say you are when you believe it first, or when you see movement or evidence of change out there. You're the only one judging as God that this feeling means I cannot choose who I am conscious of being, that I have ruined my alignment, that I cannot have what I want, that I am separated from God because I don't feel love all the time. Make it make sense. This does not align with what God said is true for you. Think about how restricted you've been making yourself. Deuteronomy, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Joshua, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Hear this. An assumption is not an affirmation. Remember, only your brain needs convincing, not God. He is not deaf. God is not a belief. He is the divine, the light, the I am state of consciousness that gives you life. He is the observer of your human self, the awareness of self that you have. And you know this. Abraham Hicks says you're an extension of divine source energy. Dr. Joe Dispenza says we are a part of universal energy, the quantum field of potential. They are all describing the same thing. So no matter what, and as Jesus states, I and the Father are one, but the Father is greater than I. Just knowing that I am resides within you always means you can rise above your human self and manifest from that state of divine consciousness. That changes everything, knowing that. Knowing that you have the choice. I mean, honestly, that is mind-blowing. He made us with a brain that, yes, keeps us safe and has beliefs that shape and dictate our perception and our perspective and who we are in this world, but at no point are they life sentences, and at no point do we have to be governed by them. We can choose to rise above them. That's phenomenal. What a gift. And then to have Jesus prove that time and time again, how to overcome the world by focusing on the reality within. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since the seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Amen. He did not rely on his human beliefs to dictate who he was conscious of being. And he represents our state of human potential. That is why he is in you. That is what you are capable of. Think about that. Jesus, when he spoke to the disabled man by the pool of Bethesda, he'd been disabled for 38 years, just like you and I have been living with limiting beliefs for the majority of our lives. The man really believed that this was who he was. He identified as a disabled man with severe limitations. But Jesus didn't say, okay, sit tight, form the belief first that you can walk, feel it to be true, and then get up. No, what did he say? He said, get up, pick up your mat and walk. Be it. At once the man was healed, picked up his mat and began to walk. If you believe you are rejected, broke, alone, it's not a problem. It's not something that has to disable your power anymore, because you never lose your God-given freedom, your right as a child of God to choose I am, to declare I am, insert, and it is done. So declare I am chosen by God, by all mankind, because it's one consciousness. That is you in immediate vibrational alignment with it. So declare it. I am wealth. I am health. I am love. I am living my dream life. I am happily engaged. Whoever it is you want to be that state of consciousness now. Persist in that declaration that this is who you are. You're not repeating anything until you get it, until it shows up. You're declaring that this is who you are from that knowing, from that I am is above all human limitation, feelings, beliefs, and thoughts. He's above all that because the I am is limitless. He is not confined by a human brain. He is defined as light, his identity love, not as a man. They may use terminology of the Father and He, but that's for the sake of understanding, so that you and I know the type of relationship you have with that divinity within, as Jesus demonstrated. The 3D, what the SP is doing, what someone else is saying, is irrelevant to you making that choice, because there is no power out there. No one else is God over you. He said, be still and know that I am God. Not sort out that mess first. So who do you say you are? Say it, knowing you are declaring it before God in the name of God, that this is who you are now conscious of being. And so it is. It is done in that moment. Try it. Remember, there's only ever one problem you are facing in whatever subject you are changing. Who you say you are. So choose differently. In the moment you state this is who I am, despite everything else, you're free from human limitation. Let that sink in, because you're no longer governed by what your beliefs say you are. Your beliefs are no longer the God over your reality within you. And if you really want to know how that feels from someone who lives it, I'd say the closest I could get to describing is it feels powerful. But it doesn't have to. I've done it in all states, as I prove over and over again. It's like my favourite thing to do to manifest consciously whilst in pain and upset and anxiousness. Because it just hones the point. And that's what makes any manifestation technique instant. It's not something we say as clickbait. Literally, as soon as you have created a change in who you are conscious of being, by choosing it, declaring it, experiencing it now within you, that change has manifested into your reality then and there, because you are reality. Isaiah, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. No more waiting. Rise above your human beliefs, feelings, and go to God. Choose God. That's what Jesus kept asking us to do. Just choose Him. Choose that I am state of consciousness and be it now. Who do you say you are right now? Persist in that. Amen. Thank you so much for the likes, subscribes, for the new members of the Journey of I Am membership channel. And here is what YouTube thinks you should watch next.